Hi, my name is Magnus and welcome to this test of the HOKA Skyward X. First of all, I should say that HOKA doesn't pay me for doing this test. It's my own initiative, my own curiosity, which is the reason to this test. However, I got the shoes from them, but they are not able to see this film before you do. With that having said, this is actually my second test of these shoes. I got them in April and made a thorough review of them and I like them a lot. I have run 900 kilometers in them, taking care of them pretty well, cleaned them from time to time, and I guess my stride is pretty keen on the sole, since you can't really say that I run 900 kilometers in them. However, this is a so-called super shoe. It's a PEBA foam and carbon plate within them, and the lifetime is said to be shorter with these kind of shoes than the traditional kind. And that's where my curiosity comes into the picture. I wanted to verify this, so I wanted to compare them to this shoe, the same model, the same size, even the same color. And in order to do this scientifically, I went to a fitness test center, Aktivitus, here in Stockholm, and got some thorough data from the shoes. The first part of this film covers that, and then I got some results there. The second part is an open road test, which I made out here, and it's more a practical test, and there's some results from that. And finally, in this movie, there's a discussion with Johan Hasselmark, the office manager at Aktivitus, regarding the test results and shoes in general also. So I hope you enjoyed this film. It's pretty long, and if you don't want to see the whole of it, jump to the different placeholders where you can see the results from the different tests, etc. All right, here we go. And here I am at the fitness test center, Aktivitus. Hi, my name is Magnus.
Isabella.
Hey Isabella.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. What will we do today?
We will do some first threshold testing. So we will start with the lactate measurement and find the low threshold or the first threshold. And then we will switch up and do a separate test for the shoes to try the shoes 2 times. And you won't know which pair you are wearing, I hope.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I hope I will not know them. I will get some help to change my shoes, actually. This will be very interesting and funny. Right?
Yeah,
We will have an excellent time together. All right, shall we start then?
Yes,
All
let's
right.
go.
Heart rate monitor is on.
Good. And we will start at, I will just first measure your lactate.
Yeah.
I'm just cleaning. We have to have a resting lactate measurement before. Let's see.
All right, let's start. And as you can see, I'm not using any of the shoes I will try later on. This is because I don't want to warm them up. They should be cold, both of them, so they are, well, equal when we start the test. So this is another pair of shoes. We are in the middle of the threshold test, or perhaps closing into the end. The speed is now 4:37 minutes per kilometer.
So in 1 minute we will take the speed down to a walk, and I will measure one last time the lactate. So this is the last speed for this test. And this is also the speed you'll be running at on the other tests.
Now we have done the preparation to find out some threshold levels where I should run my test in. And it will be 4:37, which is 13 kilometers per hour.
Yes.
30
Right.
kilometers per hour, that's the speed that the test will be conducted in. That's pretty good because it's somewhat a distance speed for me, a little bit faster. Distance speed for me is about 5 minutes per kilometer, and that's where the shoes will be used. So it's very good that the test will be conducted there. A little bit faster, since then you will get a little bit more pop, a little bit more spring from the shoe. I'm using a hat because I have a microphone up here, but now I will use a mask, and I'm told that it would be better if I wear the cap like this. Hope that the microphone will adjust it somehow. However, I will not be able to talk while having the mask, so we'll see about the microphone. And now the mask is on, and I will get some shoes now. And I will close my eyes because I don't want to see. Take these ones off, and then I will get some help to put them on, but I will... Alright, so now I have a new pair of shoes on. Well, new, I don't know if they are the old ones or the new ones. We'll see. It's always a bit more effort taking to breathe in this mask.
It's all in your head.
It's all in my head.
Alright. Starting lactate. Då så! Då gör vi sådär. 13 km i timmen.
Done with the first interval, and made a new sample of lactate, and Borg is about between 12 and 13, I say 13, and I look pretty silly, I believe. Why am I wearing this hat? Because of the microphone. Oh.
Jag kan fixa det här.
Change of shoes. Good to go for another pair of shoes. Second interval. I actually can guess which shoe this is, but I won't say anything. Well, actually I will, but I hope I won't get any reaction from Isabel here. I think these are the old ones.
3, 2, 1, going down. And here.
Second interval. On board. Now I ran 2 intervals. I changed the shoes, and now we will actually not change the shoes, but go on with the same pair with a 3rd interval, and then I will change the shoes before the 4th interval. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. That will be, well, an equal way to compare them. Now we have stopped the treadmill, pretending to change shoes, or to have the same break as if we would have changed shoes.
Check for how we did this test. See it. Trycker ner.
Difficult with a Borg scale. I think I ended up at 14 this time, a little bit higher than before. I don't know whether it's 13 or 14. However, it's pretty much the same. It's not a huge difference. One more minute of walking, then I will change shoes again. Alright, and I'm tied up with for the last test. The funny thing is that Isabel knows a little bit about the results so far. I don't have a clue. She perhaps can already see if there are any differences between the shoes. I can feel a slight difference.
3, 2, 1, go. Three, two, one.
And now we are done with the fourth interval. And Borg, I would almost say it's 13. Difficult to tell, 13 or 14. But I think this is less hard than the previous one. So I go with 13. And I'm done with the test. I am pretty sure of that the new shoes were interval number 1 and 4. We'll see whether I'm right or wrong. It felt a little bit more stiff. Actually not so comfortable. The one in the middle was not much more comfortable, but significantly more comfortable. That perhaps is because I ran so much in them, so that they really was snug around my feet. And the new ones, they are new. They are a bit stiff.
Oh, getting rid of the mask. And now you can tell which shoes were the one.
You were correct.
I was correct, yeah. It was pretty evident, but I don't know the figures yet, which shoe consumed the most oxygen. That will be interesting to see also. Alright, so here are the figures from the test, and I will walk through the different measures one by one, starting with the pulse. Should also say here that the data from interval 1 was not correct. This is flank data, probably due to that the pulse belt was not correctly installed around my chest or something like that. For the other ones, you can't really say that I'm accumulating so much pulse over the time, especially not for interval 2, where I'm pretty steady over the different minutes in the interval. When it comes to the lactate, however, I am accumulating some lactate. I am accumulating more lactate for the new shoes than I am for the old one, and when it comes to interval 2, I'm actually not accumulating any lactate at all. When it comes to the oxygen, it's more or less the same as the lactate. I am consuming more oxygen for the new shoes than I am for the old shoes. Making an average out of this, it's 3% more oxygen for the new shoes than for the old shoes. Last but not least, we have the Borg scale. And that's a self-perceived level of exertion. And I ended up between 13 and 14, which is somewhat hard. And well, after interval 3, I said it was difficult to say whether it was 13 or 14, so they are pretty much the same. I also could feel the difference between the new and the old shoes, even though I didn't see which shoes I was running in, and it may have interfered my perceived level of exertion here, that I knew that this was the old shoe. So pretty much the same, I should say here. Taking these figures all together, we will have a discussion at the end regarding the result. But as a shortage, you can't really say that the old shoes are 3% better, but at least they are not worse than the new shoes, and they are not worn out. That is something that you can say out of this test. So much for the test at the lab. Now I will test it on the road. They use the same protocol as I did at the lab. But first, a warm-up. Alright, I'm at the end of the warm-up. It's been about 2.5 kilometers, almost 3, with a higher speed than I will use during the test. That is because I want my heart rate to have had a higher rate than I will have later on. So it will be slower when I'm testing the shoes. I've tied my shoes and they're ready to start the test. This will be very interesting. All right, ready to start the test now. In a nice distance pace, not too slow, not too fast, the pace that these shoes normally are used in. Here we go. I'm about to end my first interval. It became a little bit longer than I expected. 1.5 kilometers, and now I will rest for 2 minutes. Alright, changed shoes and 30 seconds to start the next interval. I'm not talking so much to the camera while running because that might interfere the test. So I'm talking now, and it will start this round now. Back after the second interval. I will not change shoes this time, yeah, we will wait for 1 more minute and off we go again. Yet another interval, the third one. All right, almost done with the third interval, and the Borg scale says around 13, perhaps 12 actually, don't really know. We'll see about that. And we start the fourth interval now. And now I'm back, closing off the watch. I should say about the Borg. I've tried to keep the same level of exhaustion throughout the whole race, around 12. It was a little bit tougher the last 2 intervals, so perhaps up to 13, but the aim was to keep the same effort for the whole interval, and then let the time and perhaps the pulse decide any differences. Okay, I'm done. My spontaneous thinking is that it's a bit more comfortable to run in the old shoes. The new ones are stiffer, springier, feels faster. It will be interesting to see if they are faster or not. Well, it's hard to tell, but I get a good feeling in both of the shoes. But it feels that the old ones have lost some of the springiness in it, some of the repulsion, so to speak. But it's very comfortable to run in, especially the old ones. So it's a close call, and 900 kilometers does not affect the shoes so much, that's for sure. They are still going strong. That's it for the test. Now it's time to go inside to analyze the figures. Alright, here's the test result from the second test, and the time and everything is, well, it's pretty much the same for all the intervals, except for the third one. That's when I forgot to lap my watch. I waited a few seconds, probably around 5, 6, 7 seconds. I would assume that. However, you can't say that there is any difference between the shoes if you look at these figures. That's the conclusion from this, well, not so scientific test. But anyway. All right, I'm standing here with Johan Hasselmark. You are the office manager here.
Yeah, in Stockholm for Aktivitus.
Yeah. And Isabella couldn't make it during this analysis, so I'm picking up Johan instead, who will help me out to understand the figures that we've just developed, so to speak. And yeah, shall we go through them quickly?
Yes, we can. I mean, you were doing the tests, so you're totally aware of what you did. But it's always good to walk through the protocol.
Yeah.
So you did a warm up, and before that, we also ramped you up, measuring your lactate. So we lactate profile you during the warm up, and so what we wanted to do is to do 5-minute sessions for each shoe and then reverse it. You can build this kind of test. The limiters here is it's only you. We're running on a specific treadmill in a specific environment. If we would have done a full study, we would have several different runners, longer protocols of flipping shoes back and forth to really measure the differences. And best of all, it would be like both the test leader and you wouldn't even see which shoe you were running with.
But that was actually true this time.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Isabella helped me to change the shoes, so I didn't know. But
really?
I could feel actually.
Yeah. You're aware of it anyway.
Yeah.
But in that sense, but it's still useful. Some of the data is still useful, but you always need to have this kind of errors or like, even though when you're aware of something and as a human, it's impossible to manipulate yourself. You will always lie to yourself.
Yeah.
That's what you want to get away from. But in this case, this test was for you with your shoes, and that's totally fine. But like with the equipment we use, we just have to understand what numbers that are accurate, which are not accurate, what we can use, and how to like do the analysis about it. So let's start with that. So we did, after the warm-up, you did easy, so we measured that you fell back to your sort of baseline lactate. We chose a speed on the 5 minutes intervals with the shoes that is in your mid-intensity zone.
Yeah.
Which means also, like, if there's a difference between the shoes, the lesser good shoe, like that helps you, that you run slower with, meaning at the same speed, that will build more lactate during the 5 minutes than a better shoe will do.
Right.
A better shoe helps you more, which means that you can run more aerobic and less anaerobic during those 5 minute sessions. And
I also thought it was a relevant speed because that is my kind of normal distance speed. So that's when the shoes will be used.
Yeah.
So that's what's important for me.
And in your case, when you see, we put you in the lower mid-intensity zone.
Yeah.
So you build lactate, but you're able to stabilize yourself. If you're in a good condition, that speed feels okay. It feels good. It feels like you're actually running. But if in a very very long run and with fatigue, that speed will feel hard.
Yeah.
Anyway, and we also measured your oxygen consumption with VO2 max equipment, but we didn't do VO2 max test this time. We just used it to measure your oxygen consumption between the shoes. So we did 4 times 5 minutes, 4 minutes rest in between, right?
Yeah.
Where you change shoes.
Yeah, first 2 minutes of walk and then 2 minutes completely still.
Yeah, perfect. And we measured before the 5 minute and after the 5 minute the lactate and the oxygen consumption during the whole 5 minutes. So we did shoe number 1, shoe number 2, shoe number 2, shoe number 1. And as always, you want longer protocols. We would like to flip those again, have more test persons, have more treadmills or different surfaces to test the shoes in. and compared with a lot of other shoes. But as all studies, like you have to limit the resources. And in this case, this test is for you with your shoes. And then the test result is actually quite surprising.
Sure.
How did
because we know the result and we're looking at them here.
Yeah. So what was your thoughts when Isabella told you the results?
Well, first of all, I didn't believe that it was true, really, because the result says that the old shoes is better than the new shoes. I could feel the difference. The new shoes were a little bit more stiff, but that's natural, of course, with a new shoe. I mean, 900 kilometers is pretty much. I thought that they would have lost some of their capability of energy return, etc. So that was my assumption, that they would be not as good as the new ones, but that was not the case.
Well, in this case, as the result says, it's a lot of ifs and buts around this, but for you on that treadmill with the equipment we have, the older shoe helped you actually about 3% more than the new ones, and so and 3% in regard of the measured oxygen consumption on each 5 minutes, and we flip them around, and of course these figures are not 100% accurate. First of all, we have errors in the oxygen measurement equipment. There are always errors.
Yeah.
And how we also build is a short protocol. We would have wanted to flip the shoes back and forth a couple of more times to have it even more. The more measurement you have, the more accurate the end result is. Like a small error, a small mistake somewhere in a short protocol will have a big impact on the result.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing, even though there are error sources in this, is that also the lactate acceleration confirms also you have a higher lactate acceleration with the new shoes and a lesser lactate acceleration during the 5-minute intervals with the older shoes. And that confirms that the oxygen measurement is sort of accurate. Like you do actually use lesser oxygen with, in this particular case, in this measurement at this occasion, about 3%. That number is not accurate though, but it is significant, like it is measurable. The difference is measurable. And again, like the acceleration in your lactate is higher, like you produce more lactate with the new shoes than you do with the older shoes.
Yeah.
And that is also measurable, and it confirms the picture that the oxygen uptake, like the measure of that reveals.
Yeah.
The conclusion for you on this particular test is actually that the older shoe is better than the newer shoe for you. And that is pretty interesting. Then we can talk about shoes forever. What we also could say, as we spoke about after the tests, is that, yeah, well, the super shoes, the manufacturers say that, well, there's a lifetime limit on where they will help you. They will lose, the shoes will fatigue, sort of lose performance, etc.
Yeah.
And you have to choose them. But this test shows that in performance-wise, they still help you a lot, even better than the new shoes.
Yeah.
Which is pretty interesting. And you run a lot of them, as I understand.
Yeah, this has been a very frequent shoe for me. I liked it a lot. Maybe, I mean, this is a so-called super shoe with PEBA foam and the carbon plate, etc. But yet it's a distance shoe.
Yeah.
So the upper of it, I believe it's a little bit more texture in it. It's more protected, etc.
Yes.
So the material stays fresh longer than a competition shoe. So I mean, if you take the high-end competition shoes, they might not show these figures.
No, maybe not. This is, I mean, again, this is so for this particular shoe and this shoe model. And again, even though the material is quite the same, I guess it's differences in the sole material manufacturing between brands, shoes, etc. I'm not 100% sure, but I guess it's so. But for this particular shoe, I mean, you can run a lot more in it.
For sure, for sure.
But then you did a practical test also, you told me.
Yes, I did. I went out and, for a short run around the block where I live and tried to keep the same effort during this round. And it was almost exactly the same seconds it took, the same amount of time it took me. So that shows also that it wasn't, there were no difference.
Yeah, not a big difference, and you said it's exactly the same second. And regarding those self-reference tests that you do yourself, if you should always bear in mind, well, they're very useful for you as an individual to like prepare and test equipment, and what feels better, what's faster, etc. So there's nothing wrong with them in practical outcome for the individual that's gonna make a choice before a race. But then from a study perspective, it's always hard, because if you have the perception, or if you want a certain result or outcome, once again, that will affect on how you run or how you perform on that lap.
For sure.
Like that's always the backside of more practical tests.
Yeah.
They're easy, they're useful practically, and so on. But out of a pure test perspective, it's like, yeah, you make the out. If the person that does it understands the outcome, they will make sure they can make the outcome as good as possible in their perception of where they want, the result they want.
Yeah, and we can't really say that the old shoe is 3% better than the old one. No, but we can probably say that they are pretty equal. Yeah, I'm not mentioning any figures here. That's what both tests shows, that it's no significant difference between the shoes.
So yeah, exactly. That's a very good conclusion. So you can use them a lot more. But it's again, I have the perception of that all these kind of super shoes actually have a longer life length than the makers actually tell they have. But it's better it's better that they tell it's shorter than the other way around, on the other hand. So
yeah. All right. Is there any figures we should comment on here?
No, I mean, not really. It's more like you have, I mean, it's not much, but it is a significant difference in the lactate acceleration between the new and the old shoes. And you started with the new shoe, right?
Yeah.
And we have the lactate before the 5 minutes and after the 5 minutes. And we can see the acceleration on the first 5, and then the second, and the third 5 minutes was with the old one again, and then the new one. And then we have the oxygen consumption, the average of the last 2 minutes every 5 on the 5 minutes intervals measured here. And together there are varieties and there are errors in the equipment when you measure that you have to consider, but the differences are so significant still, so it's unlikely that it's a raw measurement. And as again, the lactate confirms the oxygen consumption.
The difference you're referring to here, so we make that clear, it's the energy, oxygen consumption. That is so significant, and it is confirmed by the oxygen the oxygen consumption differences. That is significant, and it's confirmed by the lactate, or
the lactate acceleration, the differences between the shoes because when you have to do more work for the same speed in mid-intensity zone, your lactate will accelerate more if you have to do more work, meaning a lesser good shoe in this case, at the same speed. So when you put on the shoes that actually helps you a little bit more, the old one in this case, then you actually produce less lactate during the 5 minute period. and that's why we wanted to have this test in a mid-intensity zone to confirm the variety in oxygen uptake with the lactate. We have done this kind of test before, and I did actually definitely expect the opposite result. So it's pretty interesting.
Yeah. So
and then I don't know if you asked someone what I after we talked the other day, I had some ideas myself and how that can be, and some materials may actually. This is just theoretical. I'm not sure if I'm right here, but when you have a material that reduces the impact and then help you bounce off as well, like the Pewing effect, the return of it, that should how that curve, like different runners have different stride, different impact in how like if you have high frequency step, your power impact is less, but maybe shorter. When you have a longer stride or a low frequency, low cadence running, your stride is probably more powerful but also longer in distribution of power when you hit the ground. Meaning, like my take is that some shoes will also fit some runners better than others because of this, how you time the impact.
Yeah.
So one idea I have is actually the material changes how it cushions you and also rebounces you to make it more into what you're used to running. And when you get a new shoe that is what you said, it feels a bit firmer, that actually might not be beneficial for how you run in this speed.
Yeah.
That's my take. Because it has like a study where they compared the super shoes that's 2 or 3 years old now. They figure out like with people with a longer powerful stride at that time with I think there was a second version of the Alpha Fly that was best in that test. At that time it was more powerful runners with longer strides that benefited the most.
Okay.
And if you have a high frequency step, less powerful, not necessarily less powerful, but also less powerful stride, they had still had a benefit of super shoes, but it was lesser.
All right.
So, and after that, I also know that some shoe brands have specifically pinpointed high frequency, high cadence runners. But yeah, that's just a thesis, a take on why the difference from my side.
I thought it was that the old shoe was more comfortable and thus I could relax more perhaps.
Might be. You're more used to it, like how it feels and how you run. And also that's a very important thing also, like compared to now we're off topic, but to understand what happens is like to compare to a bike fit. You have a cyclist that is used to a certain position when they work on their bike. Even though at the moment you bike fit them into a biomechanically better position, they may be unused to it, and therefore they will on a short term actually lower their output, start to produce lactate earlier because just the position is changed, what they're used to, even though it's better biomechanically. And this might be the case also for your stride when you change shoes.
Probably.
This is also a thesis. I'm just it's a theory.
Yeah.
So if you're used to a certain step and you do a lot of distance, and all of a sudden you get a new shoe that makes you move a little bit different, will also make you, before you're used to that, make you on a short term, that may make you lesser good with that shoe, or start to produce lactate earlier, or consume more oxygen at the same speed. So many things.
Many things.
But at the end of the day, to be honest, like the races you do, the backyard stuff, I'm not sure, this is my personal view, I'm not sure if a percent from a shoe makes a different outcome of the race.
That's absolutely true. No.
There's so many other factors.
Yeah.
It's like
I can tell I was afraid that the old shoe was much worse, and thus I would benefit from a new shoe. But as we've said earlier, that was not the case. So both shoes could be used.
Yeah.
That we can say. And those 3% up and down, irrelevant. Really, when it comes to the performance when in a race, there's so many other factors during a long race anyhow.
Yes, so many other stuff. Well, all the small improvements you want to get, but in this case, I don't know. But one thing's for sure, the old shoe is definitely the same as the new one.
Yeah,
at least.
All right, that's the end of it. Thank you very much, Johan, for letting me come here and to verify or to test these shoes and get this quite astonishing result. It has been a very nice experience for me.
You're welcome. It's great.